Welcome in to this Monday morning edition, Blue Sky Live here with you, Chase Parham and Neal McCready. No one in the Clark Ford studio. That is because Ole Miss keeps winning basketball games. The Rebels knock off Iowa State last night, 91-78, and an emphatic win that pushes Ole Miss into the Sweet 16 and a date with Michigan State just after 6 p.m. in Atlanta Central Time on Friday. So we'll talk about yesterday, the sights and sounds of. I know it's not about a history here; it's about this team, but maybe the biggest win in school history given the entire situation. So tons to talk about here. Ole Miss getting there in men's and women's. The women's team knocks off Baylor yesterday in Waco, definitely proving they should have been a top four seed. Ole Miss baseball sweeps Missouri, did what they had to do. That's probably not going to get a lot of attention today. That is something we will get at later in the week. Today, all about basketball and the Sweet 16 berths for the Rebels. He is Neal McCready. We'll get to him in a second. First, thing about Blue Sky Live. Our blue skies all over the state of Mississippi. Sweet Daddy's locations all over the state of Mississippi. You know that you are going to get catering options with them: brisket, pulled pork, ribs, side items, so many different options there with Blue Sky and Sweet Daddy's. And again, normally we're in the Clark Ford studio.
We normally are. We are not today. I am in Milwaukee, but Clark Ford remains in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is that number. Give him a call. Tell Corey Clark what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. Right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today. 662-257-1900. Guests join on the Campbell Clinic hotline. From fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions, the pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi providing expert care for growing bodies. Visit campbellclinicoxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111.
Neal, so much to get to. Again, Ole Miss knocking off Iowa State 91-78, led in the 20s. Frankly, they got outplayed the first 5 minutes, and from that point on, it was all Ole Miss. The job Chris Beard has done, it's just amazing. I was thinking last night, and as the game was closing, that Ole Miss, and that is what my knowledge base is, because that's the team I've covered for 20 years, just never had any semblance of a basketball coach where you went into games expecting that kind of win, to get that kind of performance, to picking your team at the right time. And it kind of shows you a glimpse of what Ole Miss is facing next. They get Tom Izzo, they get Michigan State, and I think we've watched one of those kind of seasons. Even though Ole Miss is far from the most talented team that you watch throughout college basketball in a ton of ways, where the best coaches, even early on, things don't go right. They find a way to peak their teams. They find a way to get something out of everything. And when March rolls around, they're just never out of it. That was one hell of a performance and an effort last night from the Rebels.
Yeah, I'll openly tell you what I said to you and I said to some other people last night. There's about 8 minutes left in the game, and I looked at Michael Katz next to me and said, "Who are these guys?" I've covered this team all year, and I've covered some good wins. They've beaten some good teams. We'll talk about all that in a minute. The SEC has 7 teams in the Sweet 16, and Ole Miss has beat some of them. Beat one of them twice. But I didn't see that. That was amazing. They came out and they got, you read my column maybe. My column's up at rebelgrove.com. A lot of content at rebelgrove.com. There's more coming. I'll probably publish one more thing before I get out of Milwaukee here this morning and fly home. But they got punched square in the jaw, basically, right out of the gate. Iowa State, when you watch them in warm-ups, they're big. Big, tall dudes, physical dudes, good-looking guys, and they played for T.J. Otzelberger, who is toughness personified. You don't play for him. You don't play for him unless you're tough. You don't play for him unless you are committed to physicality. And they dominated the first 5 minutes of that game. They took an 8-point lead, and I was like, man, I don't know. And then after that, I'll tell you, it was a big shot in that game. It was late in a shot clock. Malik Dia hit a three. And it was kind of like a, whew, you could almost, I was sitting right by the Ole Miss bench, and you could almost feel an exhale. And from that point forward, Chase, they played with maybe a couple of minutes exception in the second half, a little late. They played absolutely beautiful basketball. They were tenacious on defense. They completely got Iowa State out of their rhythm, out of their comfort zone. Otzelberger said as much last night. They offensively, they moved the basketball. They found open shooters. Yeah, they shot incredibly well, but you know what? They got great looks.
Mm-hmm.
You don't shoot like that if you don't get great looks. They got great looks. They knocked them down. They played with confidence. They shared the ball. Their defensive rotations, their offense for defense substitutions. It was just beautiful basketball, man. It was I'm often a critic of the college game because a lot of times the games are just not very good looking. And this was a beautiful performance. Which is a weird thing to say about a Chris Beard team because Chris Beard teams are tough. When they're good, they're blue collar. They're kind of nasty. They're gritty, and they did all of that, and yet at the same time they played a beautiful game. It was remarkable to watch it unfold. I'm still, and again, I wrote on Saturday, and I'm kind of rambling. I'm sorry, I'm really tired.
No, that's perfect.
I wrote on Saturday that I heard some people starting to do this Cinderella thing. And I was like, no. This isn't Cinderella. Lipscomb Cinderella. Ole Miss isn't Cinderella. They're a 6 seed with 23 wins. They beat Kentucky. They beat Tennessee. They beat Arkansas twice. They won at Alabama. They beat BYU. They beat Colorado State. No. This isn't Cinderella. I mean, you want to say that they're an underdog? Cool, that's fine. I get that. I mean, Iowa State's really good. You want to go Cinderella though? No. And so I wasn't shocked that they won at all. In fact, I told you, I said it's coin toss. But I was shocked that I looked up at one point and they're up 25 points or whatever it was. I was stunned by that. I was stunned that I was literally able to publish a column with 6 seconds left in the game. I didn't see that coming. But this is, and we'll talk about Beard, I know a lot, probably a lot this week. And I'm working on a story about this. He's a different guy. And I mean that kind of in a good way. I mean, when he starts it in year one, hey, our goal is to make it to Monday night. You're like, what the hell are you talking about? Man, you took over a program that has sucked. Like, sucked. Like, Ole Miss was so bad that they were one of the only teams that actually finished the COVID season by getting whacked by Georgia on the first night of the SEC tournament. I mean, they had not gotten to the SEC tournament quarterfinals in, holy shit, maybe 10 years?
Maybe 13, yeah.
I don't know. A long time.
Well, they won it in 13, so it had to be 13, yeah.
Yeah, and so, you hear that and you're like, dude, come on. And then you realize, no, that's legitimately how he thinks, how he talks, how he coaches. And this team bought in. I don't know that last year's team completely bought in. And in fairness to them, it might have been too raw, too fresh. This time, this team completely bought in. And, over the course of a season, I think, and this is the column I'm kind of working on, some of these guys have kind of morphed into him. They've become him. Teams adopt their head coach's personality over time. I think you see it with Auburn, for example, with Bruce Pearl, who's this naturally emotional, happy, fiery, you know what I'm talking about? I mean, and I love Bruce. I think he's great. But his team kind of gets that way. His team can be emotional and huggy and fiery and all that stuff. They'll get some technicals and all that. And Beard is just this relentless competitor, obsessed with winning. Obsessed with winning. And he made a comment last night, if there's a scoreboard, I want to win. And they set up all their practices throughout the year. Everything's a competition. They have a little shooting thing at the end of practice. A lot of teams, will just have a little shoot around at the end of practice, and it's just, hey, get some shots up. Not them. They put a scoreboard on it. It's a competition. Who can win it the most? By the way, Matt Morrell wins it the most. I asked. That's just who he is, and I think this team has bought into it. And they survived on Friday against Carolina when Carolina made that run, and Padula made that shot. It was a shot that felt big in the moment.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, they just dominated. That game was over early in the second half, if not sooner. Iowa State, to its credit, you knew they wouldn't quit, and they didn't. They made a little run.
Got it to 10 with like a minute and change.
Chris called timeout and screamed at them, and they responded with a couple of turnovers and kind of fitting Matthew Morrell with the layup, and then Jamin Brakefield with a big-time dunk that put it away. And T.J. Otzelberger looked over at Beard at one point with about a minute left and was like, hey, we're calling it off. Let's not get anybody hurt, basically, which I thought was a class thing. I'll tell you this. I'm a big Iowa State basketball fan after the weekend. I love the culture around their program. They're real. They're a cool. That's a cool program. T.J. Otzelberger is a hell of a coach. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling. I was just blown away by it, the fact that it was such an emphatic statement. And they go to Atlanta now, and it's Michigan State, it's Michigan, it's Auburn. Congratulations to the people of Atlanta. That'll be a zoo.
The ticket brokers, because the tickets are expensive. Oh boy.
Yeah. It'll be crazy, but is Ole Miss the favorite? No, of course not. Of course not. I'm not counting them out. I mean, I know what I just looked at. And, could Ole Miss lose to Michigan State? Sure, 100%. Michigan State will have to play really well. I think this team will answer the bell on Friday night. I really do.
Yeah, I think it's a close freaking game on Friday. And, we're going to focus on Friday, but not looking ahead. Auburn's not going to look up and go, God, I don't want to have to beat that team 4 freaking times to move on. That would create a kind of a really odd circumstance for the Tigers should that hypothetical take place.
I'll lay the groundwork for this, and it's something that crossed my mind. I made a mental note of it when it happened in was it January when they played in Oxford?
Mm-hmm.
And Ole Miss played them within 10, and there were a few people kind of doing gosh, you were tied with Auburn with 8 minutes left. And Beard was like, we're trying to get this team to a place in March where we win these games.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm Bruce Pearl, this sounds crazy. I'd much rather see Michigan State than Ole Miss on Sunday. Ole Miss knows them. And, anybody who watched the game in Nashville, and we're getting way ahead of ourselves because, number one, Auburn hadn't beaten Michigan yet.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about big and physical. You talk about physical.
They wilted A&M. A&M quit on.
Just wore them down.
Just wore them out.
And A&M's a tough-nosed team, and you don't see Buzz Williams' team sort of wilt and fold the way that team did late. But I don't know. If I'm Auburn, I don't want to play them again because that game in Nashville, if Ole Miss makes some threes, they win it. I told you this, and man, forgive me for the full-scale ramble at this point. I told you in Nashville last week, I thought I saw something because I knew watching Arkansas on that Thursday night. We do this thing in media. This is our fault. Fans don't do this. This is a media thing. and I've criticized media to their face for doing it. We set a narrative early in a season, and by God, that's it, man. That's it. That is the storyline, and anything that happens is built around that storyline. And we did this thing when Arkansas started 0-5 that they suck. And if you watched them much at all towards the end of the year, you were like, well, they don't suck. I'm not sure how good they are or aren't, but they don't suck. And in fact, they're pretty good. And Ole Miss went kind of toe to toe with them that day in Nashville a week and a half ago or whatever. And I thought that was interesting. And then the next day they did the same thing with Auburn, who's a 1 seed, who's also in the Sweet 16. I thought that was a real primer for what was to come. And this team was fully prepared for Milwaukee, and they march on.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about Michigan State, it's been all over the internet. Everybody's pretty much seen it by now that Izzo did not know Ole Miss had won until John Rothstein asked him about it after the game last night. And I don't want to make as much of it as some people are, but it also didn't take a body language expert. Izzo wasn't particularly thrilled to face Beard in the next round. Like, he kind of had okay, I got to deal with that. Like, there was a level of respect and kind of just a touch of dread in that as he made a face before he moved on. I mean, because it wasn't even Ole Miss, it was Beard, because he said, hey, can I get on the plane before I worry about Chris? And
yeah. I'd worry about Chris too. I wouldn't want to have to play that guy in anything. I don't want to play him in a game of Uno. I don't want to play.
He doesn't let his kid win at pickup. Like, no, he's
No, I mean, he's hyper competitive. But man, here's the thing.
But he's smart. Like, he almost doesn't get credit for being as smart as he is because he's so competitive.
Well, and he has and this is a thing that great people do. Like, this is a life lesson. Like, you tell your kids this, and it's true. Great people surround themselves with other great people. Chris has a really good staff. Really good staff. I mean, it's elite. They are, and he listens to them. I watched. Man, the great thing about the tournament from a media standpoint is you actually get to hear and see a little bit. And he listens to his staff. They communicate to him, and he listens. He doesn't always do what they recommend, but they're pretty dialed in, and they communicate amongst themselves. And there's more to that operation than just competitiveness. No, they're very smart. They were immensely prepared for the scout on Iowa State. They had them fully scouted. And I think TJ and those guys had Ole Miss scouted too. But it's hard to prepare for what Ole Miss does defensively when they get dialed in and they're super active. And that was with a tight whistle yesterday. They just kind of worked through that, and they've got just enough depth. They got quality, big-time minutes out of Davon Barnes yesterday. I mean, wow, dude, big minutes. And then they even got some really good minutes out of Eduardo Klafke. He gives you nothing on offense at all, but he's a dog defensively. And then I thought this was one of the keys to the game. I thought both Matt and Jamin were terrific. I really did. I thought they were terrific in their roles. And, he stuck with Juju Murray, and early in the game, I thought Murray's too small to play in this game. He's not going to be able to give him anything. And then lo and behold, he gave him a lot. Shows you that he's a better coach than I would be, which I've only coached upward. So I'll surrender that one. I just thought they were incredibly prepared.
Upward's man-to-man all the time, right? That's the bracelets. Aren't you man-to-man? Just
yeah, man-to-man all the time, because I was the one that tried to go to zone, and I was, oh, God, Jesus hates the zone. You can't run the zone in upward. Jesus is anti-zone. I asked that question, and the guy got so pissed off.
God, why have we not put that on a T-shirt? Jesus hates the zone. My God, we're missing such an opportunity here.
I know. That's what I said. I said, so Jesus hates zone?
Do you think you could have taught zone to your fifth graders?
I did teach zone. We were running it. It worked.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. You abandoned the bracelet. system?
Well, we just kind of loosely abandoned it. I
Okay.
was like,
Well,
just go
matchup
here.
zone.
I said,
Yeah.
just go here. They can't shoot it over us. Just go here and get the rebound. Yeah, Luke says zone is for cowards. I was coaching fifth grade girls. They were cowards. Yes, you're damn right it was. And Jesus loved the cowards too, Luke.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh
Jesus loved the
God.
cowards more than he loved everybody else. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, you're good. A few super chats. Hardman says, haven't been able to watch live in a while. Just want to say, y'all have helped me get through one of the toughest experiences in my life. Appreciate you. Hope whatever you are dealing with is getting better there, bud. Glad you're with us today. Pocket Watch. Congrats on the Sweet 16. Hotty toddy friends and Blake. Thanks for the coverage all weekend. It goes to Neil there, so appreciate that. Blake also running through a few chats in the stream here this morning as we're catching up. Um, well, lot to get to here. Ole Miss and Michigan State have met in the NCAA tournament before. They did in the second round of the 1999 NCAA tournament. That was 2 days after Ole Miss won its first ever NCAA tournament game. That was Villanova 72-70 there in that, and then they lost to a Mateen Cleaves Michigan State team 74-66 in the
I
second
remember
round.
that game.
That Michigan State team ended up in the Final Four. UConn won the title that year, but Michigan State did win that regional. I mean, Ole
I
Miss
was
came into the
watching.
day with 4 main bracket NCAA tournament wins in history, and now they have 6 plus the play-in win over BYU, so 7 total when you look at it. That's the list, as the kids say. That's it. That's all I got.
I
So
remember the Michigan State game. I was covering Auburn. Auburn had just won 2 games in Indianapolis. I had to drive to Blacksburg, Virginia, to cover a women's game. I was thrilled, and I got stuck in basically an ice storm in Cincinnati. I was able to get over the bridge into Covington, Kentucky, and the first spot was like a Holiday Inn, and I think I was the only person there. But I watched it in my room at the Holiday Inn. There was no place to get food. They actually let me get some stuff out of the kitchen.
that was nice of them. Look at them at
It
the
was
Holiday
nice.
Inn.
And then it kind of cleared up that night, and I went to some Mexican restaurant down the street that the woman said was good. And I got up early the next morning and traversed some icy West Virginia roads to get to Blacksburg.
Slim Daddy J in the threat in the stream. He says, I don't think they're Cinderella, but this team isn't as talented as the Marshall Henderson team, which I think speaks to just how good Beard is. I don't know. I don't know.
If you'd given that team Malik Dia, they might have done something.
Yeah. Because the
And
five on that team was Reggie, Murphy, Marshall, Jarvis, and somebody I'm forgetting, Snoop.
I'd have to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this team might be more talented.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that we're
Padula
all.
can do more than anyone on that team can do independently, and Dia is just a presence that didn't exist there.
Yeah,
Because
and
Murphy
Dre
played
didn't.
his ass off, but he was also not a very big dude.
Yeah, Dre
And
Davis.
Reggie, I mean, consistency and Reggie didn't really go in the same sentence, so you didn't know what you were getting there.
No, I mean I can't even tell you some of the Reggie Buckner quotes that I've gotten from the former Ole Miss coach. Those are not repeatable, but yeah, no.
Andy celebrated the win last night on the X machine. Saw he had a tweet. He was all in last night.
Well, I mean Andy. I feel like I can say this. Andy, when I asked about Beard one time, he was like, "Look, he's different now. You know, he's one of the." I think he said, "I'd fire me for Andy for Beard."
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, look, I don't do he's the best thing because I don't know how you measure best.
But he's in the conversation.
He's absolutely in he is elite. That's the word, you know. I mean, you start doing the whole. Well, is he as good as? I don't know. I mean, that's not the same thing. If you tell me I can have one game, and I got to win it. He's on the very short list.
Grind says current odds right now to win the region. Auburn minus 175, so heavy favorite there. That means you got to bet 175 to win 100. On the Tigers, Michigan State plus 250, which again is bet 100, win 250. Michigan plus 500, bet 100, win 500. And then Ole Miss plus 750, bet 100 to win 750 on the Rebels to win the next two games. So there is that.
I don't know. I mean,
Andy is into the NIT quarterfinals. They had a big comeback win over Santa Clara. Now they play, I don't know, UC Irvine or somebody in the next round out there.
oh, good for
So
them.
yeah,
I mean,
they're still.
he had a good team. They just weren't quite as good as Memphis. Otherwise, they would have made the tournament. They just couldn't beat Memphis. They were the second best team in the American this year.
We'll go around the league a little bit. He's throwing some more odds at me here. East region, Duke minus 200, so 2-1 favorite there. They frankly they're only plus 200 to win the national title right now. There's just no value at all in Duke. Bama plus 300 to win the region, so that's bet 100 to win 300. Arizona 550 and BYU 850. That is two teams in that region that Ole Miss has beaten this season that are still alive in the Sweet 16. There with that again, 7 teams make it to the Sweet 16 out of the SEC. Yesterday, just a banner day for the league. Florida had the biggest scare. UConn and Dan Hurley gave them all they wanted yesterday. Walter Clayton had a no-show for 30 minutes and then went freaking off after that and was phenomenal down the stretch for the Gators. Florida pulls it out 77-75. They're up 77-72, and UConn hit a 3 at the buzzer to cut it to 2 there. Hurley, as always, cracks me up. He was walking off the floor yesterday and told Scott Drew and Baylor he hoped the refs didn't F them the way that they had just gotten F'd. So
that dude, I'm not to interrupt, but that dude, for as great of a game coach as he is, and he's damn good. Yeah. Good God, man.
I don't have to deal with him, so I find him funny every time. I can't help it. I laugh at Dan Hurley every game. I just
no self-awareness at all. No self-awareness at all. Just coached your ass off against Florida, scared the hell out of them, and damn near pulled it off. And you come off the court going, you got effed. No, you didn't. Walter Clayton made plays. You made Florida show something. Mm-hmm. You weren't as good as them. Goodness.
Yeah, gracious. You're a damn good program. You just won back-to-back national titles and won 13 NCAA tournament games in a row. I mean,
yeah, and you just coached circles around Todd Golden. I mean, and everybody who watched the game saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't win more titles, it's because UConn can't get players. It's not because of you.
No, he's an elite coach. He's an elite prick, but he's an elite coach.
That's a good way to put it. He is an elite prick. I mean, he's one of the prickiest pricks there is. It's just...
Yes. Sorry, Jesus. Jesus is like, I really prefer you not to talk like that. I get it.
Houston, a heavy favorite in the Midwest, minus 165, the 1 seed. Tennessee plus 215, so a little over double your money if you think Tennessee can pull this thing off. Kentucky plus 650. God, they look good against Illinois. Just broke the Illini yesterday. And then Purdue plus 700. That's a very high number for a 4 seed, plus 700 there for Purdue.
Yeah, I don't like Purdue's chances. That Kentucky-Tennessee game, I hate it for both teams.
You hate it for both teams?
Yeah, because they're going to know each other so damn well that there's, and that they already play each other a lot. I'll say this I was on a shuttle with some Kentucky guys yesterday, and I was like, explain the Calipari Kentucky thing to me like I'm 5. Why does everybody hate each other? Didn't this kind of work out for everyone? I'm like, Kentucky's in the Sweet 16. You've got a coach that you like that kind of embraces being Kentucky. Cal clearly needed a refresher. He got one. He's done an amazing coaching job here in the last month and a half. His team's in the Sweet 16. Hell, BYU's in the Sweet 16. They won. I'm like, everybody should just be happy. What is it? and they were like, we don't really understand it either. But it feels like they were like, it feels like it's starting to go away. And
And
I was like, well, good.
well, I
Everybody
mean,
should just kind of
and like
love the
your
one.
own guy, like I said, that's what got me in Oxford. Is I mean, because you know where we sit, I was covering that game, and the Kentucky fans are all around, and it's like they hate their own coach. It's like, what is your problem? Like you're
And I sat and watched him a couple of times this weekend, like at the podium. And I wasn't covering them, so I wasn't engaged in the conversation at all. But I'm actually starting to think he's a genuinely nice guy. Like,
Pope.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, he is. No, I think
I
he's.
don't think
As I
it's
said, I
I
mean,
don't think it's an act.
no, I think he legitimately is the orange slice juice box guy. That's who he is.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's not really who they are, but he's got his team in the Sweet 16, and they'll play Tennessee for a chance to get to the Elite Eight. And I don't. They didn't have the biggest fan base here over the weekend, though. There were teams with more people here.
Yeah, Matt Jones said it was a very weak Kentucky crowd relative to past tournaments. That they were clearly
Yeah,
third behind Iowa State and Illinois.
man, Iowa State, dude. That fan base is voluminous.
Because basketball's so on you, and you get so many people in one photo. They have the best, like, not like surrender cobras, but like just game is playing out, like depressed fan shots. Because I saw pictures of like the Ole Miss fans cheering, and there's like these Iowa State guys just sitting there going, "Oh my God, just kill me now! Like, just can we get the next 38 minutes over with so I can get out of here and go home at this point?" Like, it's so
Yeah.
tough. Um, Luke says, "Let's assume Chris has a Lane-esque path here, ends up staying longer than expected. How much does this run help in being able to schedule non-conference opponents?" You get some help there, yeah, 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 I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, yeah.
Because Ole Miss was no
Look,
man's land forever. They were too good to guarantee a win, but not good enough to help you at all.
it's one of the reasons I said all year that, and I think some people actually started to listen to me, that if you're a fan, you really wanted the league to do well. You really wanted the league to get a lot of bids, and then you really wanted the league to perform in the tournament. Check, check, check. So everyone's going to schedule that way. You're going to end up, and I can't remember who said this. It was a coach from another league. He said the way this is playing out is going to be a win for college basketball fans. You're going to get more really good games in November and December than you've gotten in the past.
Ole Miss is going to be in Maui year after next, I believe. That'll help. Just yeah, it kind of is what it is. I didn't know that. So Pope can grow hair, but just chooses to be bald. Is that true?
I I can't. I refuse to believe that because I would.
Neil is thinking now it is psychopathic behavior, is what is going on.
Yeah, I now want to get back into a press conference and go, hey, can we talk about something important? Because I heard a scandalous thing about you.
You choose to be chrome domed. Huh? Okay, good. Yeah.
Why? Why would you choose to look like this? Because if I could grow hair, it would be growing all over the place.
All right, let's see. Yeah, we talked about Florida. Duke just annihilated Baylor yesterday, 89-66. Bama dominated St. Mary's. They dictated pace. They controlled that game throughout against the Gales. They're from the West Coast Conference or wherever the heck St. Mary's is out there. Michigan State did scuffle with New Mexico. New Mexico State, sorry, New Mexico, not New Mexico State. They were up two at the break. It was close until the final media timeout, and then Michigan State hit a bunch of shots and really kind of got loose in the transition game late to win 71 to 63 and move to 29-6 on the year. We'll kind of do full scout of Michigan State later in the week. That's not the news for today. Illinois, instead of going inside, decided they would just go outside and shoot and try to outscore Kentucky. That doesn't work. That was a bad game plan. That is not the way to get that done. And because of that, they were down 5 at the break, got outscored by 4 in the second half, and lost by 9. Maryland has the biggest buzzer beater of the tournament, knocking off Colorado State literally at the buzzer with a little running floater from the
Derek
baseline off the board.
Derek Quick, who's a lottery pick, made that shot.
Made a play. Went and made a play.
Good
And they were
basketball
down
players
1,
make
so it was
basketball
winner.
plays.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
kind of like Clayton. Like Florida was in deep trouble, and then all of a sudden it was just boom, 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 and you went, "Oh, okay. Well, if you're gonna do that, there ain't anything anybody can do. Game's just over at that juncture." And then Arizona won a really good basketball game late, and hardly anybody was up for that. But 87-83 last night over Oregon to move to the Sweet 16.
I saw the end of it, but I was writing. I wasn't really paying attention.
Auburn struggled with Creighton until like the last 10 minutes, ended up winning by 12. They advanced. I mentioned Arkansas, just a really efficient, complete effort from Calipari's Razorbacks there. What they're getting from Boogie Flan is a game changer for them in so many different ways.
Well, and
They
hey, the rumor around that program is that Thero Adu is coming back. Will play this week. They're going to have a little more depth. Hey, again, I'm going to say this about all these SEC teams. They are steel, Steel, not Southern Steel, steel.
yeah.
These teams have been battle tested, man. These teams have been battle tested. I mean, these teams have played. When you get a consistent diet of Tennessee, Kentucky, Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, when that's just all you eat, that's who you are. And you see it in these teams. And yeah, I know everyone goes Arkansas is going to get blown out by Texas Tech, and Texas Tech's better than them. But I'm just going to tell you, I just got through watching a Big 12 SEC game.
It's not a gimme.
Just watch one. I just watched one.
Who's at Texas Tech? Is that McCaslin?
Adu Thero. I get Adu Thero wrong all the time.
Okay.
Whatever. Who I'm talking about. He's their leading scorer and rebounder. He's been out for 3 weeks, and the rumor is he's going to be able to come back and play some.
Is that McCaslin at Texas Tech?
Yeah.
Is it?
Isn't it?
Okay. I think. He was
I
at
think
North
so.
Texas and went to Texas Tech, right?
Yeah. Didn't his wife play soccer at Texas Tech or something?
Now you're getting beyond my scope of knowledge. I don't know
Uh,
that, but
my
point being,
apologies.
he's not going to turn the tape on and go, "Oh yeah, W, guaranteed. Moving on. Let's book
No.
the next round. Done."
No, man. You and I talked about this. Those Arkansas freshmen, not freshmen, but the couple of the kids that transferred from UK, that they're starting to feel themselves a little bit, and they're athletic as hell.
BYU Wisconsin, really good basketball game, 91-89. Again, the Cougars move on to the Sweet 16. Tennessee hit 10 threes, controlled UCLA 67-58 in their kind of game there in that one.
If Tennessee makes threes, they're almost impossible to beat.
Mm-hmm. Purdue ended McNeese's day. That was an incredible mismatch. And then A&M was up 12 with like 10 to go, and just Michigan got inside and got to the rim and kind of took away those offensive boards, and it got dicey fast for the Aggies once it started going away a little bit.
Yeah, I guess it was Saturday. I'd finished my work. I think my memory of Milwaukee will be either working or sitting at a bar because it was one or the other. I was sitting there watching A&M in Michigan, and it was weird to see A&M wither like that. But they just did. They just got beat low, and Michigan just found something and just pounded it.
It was a strange game to watch because in the moment you haven't had Sunday happen yet. And you kind of, you went,
Mm-hmm.
is that a sign of maybe something to
Yeah.
come? And then it wasn't. The rest of the league just did their thing, and instead it's A&M being A&M. So that's pretty much what happened there.
7 SEC teams in the Sweet 16. 7. I mean, just think about that for a minute. 7.
Including all your 4 of your favorites. Your 4 double byes are still alive.
Your 4 big guys, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Arkansas,
Yeah.
all make the Sweet 16.
Yeah, you have your top
that's not a
4
fluke.
chances to win a title, and your other 3 are Chris Beard, John Calipari, and Kentucky.
I mean, it's wild, really. It's kudos to the league. Really, it is. They emphasized it. it's almost, there's so much of it that people almost aren't even going to talk about it, but they emphasized it. They made it a priority, and you see the results. They have it's a great league, full of great players, full of great coaches, and I think it has. David Barnes talked about this last night. He said there's no question it prepared them,
Mm-hmm.
and it did. You know, when you play that schedule over and over and over, it's a relentless. You're just bombarded with good teams. I mean, there wasn't a gimme on the whole thing. South Carolina wasn't a gimme. Look at Ole Miss and Arkansas late in the year. I mean, Ole Miss had to really play to get that thing done, and they beat Arkansas by 30. I mean, it just wasn't a gimme in the league. The closest thing to a gimme was probably LSU,
Mm-hmm.
and that's Matt McMahon, who's a really good coach. I mean, there's just the league prepared these teams.
Schedule for Thursday, you got the other side of the bracket. You got Newark and San Francisco in that one. In Newark, number 6 seed BYU will face number 2 seed Alabama. That's at 6:09 p.m. there on CBS on Thursday. The winner of BYU and Alabama will face the winner of Arizona and Duke. This was put out prior to that. So Arizona and Duke play. I love the Tide to get past BYU, even though BYU's had a hell of a season. Duke's going to be a tall order. I'll tune in for it, but I do get why Duke is a plus 200 right now in this tournament. They seem to be healthy and doing a lot of good things. When you have Cooper Flag, you're always going to have a bit of a chance out there on the court. So
I just
see.
like the Alabama. I feel sorry for the scoreboard operator in Alabama BYU because he's just going to be hitting buttons.
Yeah, I need an over on that. I'm wondering what that looks like because got some points coming. And the other side, it's Arkansas, Texas Tech. As we just mentioned, the winner of that game will play Florida or Maryland. Florida might have just gone through their toughest test to the Final Four with UConn. So we'll see when that's coming up. And then on Friday, again, obviously Ole Miss, Michigan State. That will lead into Auburn and Michigan. So SEC versus Big Ten versus State of Michigan there. And then Kentucky, Tennessee is in Indianapolis. The winner of that game will get Purdue or Houston, the other game there in Indy. So good matchups.
I bet Big Blue Nation goes to Indianapolis pretty strong.
Mark says BYU Bama opened at 171, so that's not crazy.
Over.
You like over? That's 85 a pop.
Yep.
Okay. I know they play a really tough non-con, but at some point, do you wonder what happens with Duke when they get into these SEC battles at some point in this tournament and they haven't played any damn body since November?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
They've had a cake of a schedule.
Now Flag's really, really good. He's so good that it might overcome that. But yeah, I do wonder. Sure.
Lines on these games: Alabama's favored by 4.5 against BYU. Florida is favored by 6.5 against Maryland. Duke is favored by 9.5 against Arizona, and Texas Tech favored by 5.5 against Arkansas. Those are your Thursday games. And then on Friday, Ole Miss is a 2.5-point underdog now to Michigan State. So that line's come down a little bit, actually about a point and a half since it originally opened. So 2.5 there for the Spartans over the Rebels. Tennessee minus 4.5 against Kentucky. So Vols minus 4.5. Auburn minus 7.5 against the Wolverines, and then Purdue and Houston minus 7.5 for the Cougars against the Boilermakers. In that one, the Ole Miss Michigan State over under 143.5, so 70-ish there on that game from a total. The Auburn Michigan game, by the way, starts at 9:39 Eastern there in Atlanta.
I will be at a bar.
Well, you won't be done working though till halftime.
Yeah, it'll be second half. I mean, especially
Do you have a seat for the second game, or do you get thrust into like a work area?
I think I get thrust into a work area. I sort of had a seat for Kentucky, Illinois, but I decided not to use it, and I was kind of glad because I ended up sitting in the workroom and got a lot of work done, and I actually watched some of the Ole Miss Missouri baseball games. So I'm able to be a little more conversant on that. Not much more yet, but a little bit more. So I wrote about that for 10 Thoughts a little bit. I was trying to get ahead, and then I was trying to get something up from the women's game I watched the end of their game against Baylor and was trying to get something up from that.
Ole Miss does knock off the Baylor Bears in Waco 69-63 in a game where they were just a more physical, aggressive team. They kind of bullied Baylor a little bit there on their home floor. They play defense. They get after you. They hit enough shots. When Ole Miss scores 70, they're very tough to beat because they are held defensively and with ball pressure there with the women. They draw one seed UCLA now in the Sweet 16. UCLA survived the first half scare. Richmond and the Bruins were knotted up at halftime of that game, but UCLA dominated, ended up winning 84-67 against the Spiders, taking over in the second half. That is a March 20, what game? 28th? 26th? 26th? I don't know, something like that.
Probably 28th because it'd be a Friday game, right?
Yeah, it's 28. The graphic was kind of fuzzy. Yeah, March 28th at either 7:30 or 10 p.m. I'm assuming
Central
Eastern.
or
I'm assuming those are
okay.
Eastern times.
Yeah,
I'm on
'cause
the official NCAA website.
Because they'll be on the Pacific Coast.
They will. The game that they are competing against will be the winner of Florida State LSU and the winner of Michigan State NC State for timing. Like that's the other side of that to pick a time. Those teams are going to Spokane to be in Region 1 because the women do 2 regions in one area and then 2 regions in another place. So there's not 4. There's only 2 regions for the women. You have Spokane 1 and 2, and you have Birmingham 1 and 2. And this is Spokane 1.
Interesting city selections.
Spokane and Birmingham.
I mean, it's fascinating. Good for you.
You're like, hey, you just want to know what happened in the conference room when they went, hey, where are we going to this? So I'll tell you what, let's do this. Here's the idea. Let's go to Birmingham.
Let's send 8 teams to Spokane, Washington. Why not?
It all tells you the men take up a lot of locations.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I wrote this. I'm gonna say it publicly just in case anybody listens to it, because sometimes people that do these jobs don't get enough praise. I guess Marquette staff that ran this regional here in Milwaukee were phenomenal. This is a cool city. That is a phenomenal arena. It is absolutely, whoever designed that arena should just go design all the arenas. It is laid out perfectly. I think fans loved it. Lots of sight lines, media workrooms, the way everything was organized. Incredibly efficient, incredibly well done. A+ to the people at Marquette. There was literally no complaints.
So I did not know this. I mean, it's just a weird scheduling quirk, and I doubt a ton of people went to multiple sports. But so Auburn was in Lexington for their games, and the baseball team was at Kentucky. And this week they're in Atlanta, and their baseball team is at Georgia.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what Grimes
said. So the SEC fixed this for Auburn.
They did. They set the entire thing up. I think that is one of the reasons why the tickets are so expensive, is that with Auburn being the 1 seed, they just went ahead and bought all the Atlanta tickets 2 weeks ago because they didn't anticipate losing to an 8 or 9.
Probably.
Went ahead and got in, and you're right there at it.
I got a feeling it's going to feel like Neville East a little bit.
I think that will benefit Ole Miss because the Auburn will not have played yet, and I think Auburn will pull for Ole Miss.
Huh.
I think that gives them more juice in that first game. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to take their shirt off and spin it around like they're Ole Miss fans, but I think in general, Auburn fans in the arena will pull for Ole Miss over Michigan State.
There was a Kentucky fan behind me at the game last night, and he was cheering hard for Iowa State. It was interesting.
Really?
I looked at him a couple of times like, hey, it's free country. Cheer for who you want to cheer for.
What the hell was the Kentucky guy pulling for Iowa State?
I
Might
don't
be in
know,
their
but he
bracket.
was. He was cheering hard for the Sykes.
Really?
Again, I mean, I wasn't offended. I mean, he bought a ticket. If he wants to cheer for Iowa State, he can.
Did any Kentucky fans much hang around for Ole Miss Iowa State?
Yeah, they hung around a good bit, and it kind of emptied out when it got to be 20-something points. People were like, "Let's go get something to eat," you know. But yeah, they hung around. Even some of the Illinois fans hung around for a while. They were kind of just standing there in shock a little bit.
Grind says that the Auburn message boards were pulling for Ole Miss last night over Iowa State.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, there you go.
Well, I mean, again, for precedent-setting sake, you want the league to do as well as possible. It will. No one next year, if the numbers are similar. Well, I say no one outside of the same handful of bozos. Most people will go, "Oh, I get it." You know, I mean, when the SEC gets 13, 14 bids, everyone will go, "Well, I get it." You know, they're dominant.
I was looking to see what teams have sent men and women to the Sweet 16. Ole Miss, obviously, on a very small list here. The only ones that have officially punched their tickets to date are Ole Miss and Tennessee and Duke. Those three have the men and the women in the Sweet 16. Alabama has a chance to join today. Their women play Maryland. Oregon lost last night, so no. Texas, no. Illinois, no. Ohio State, no. Iowa, no. Oklahoma, no. UConn, no. Southern Cal, no. State. That's it. Michigan State. Sorry, Michigan State's women play NC State today. So a list of 4 or 5 there that can put both in. It's been a pretty good athletic year so far for the Rebels. You get 10 football wins and now both men and women in the Sweet 16. It was got a football recruited commitment out of Alabama yesterday from Pike Road, the running back. Got the women's tennis team knocked off Texas in Austin yesterday over the number 13 Longhorns. So they got a win from Mark Byers and his program. And then, yeah, you mentioned baseball, and we'll get to that. We got plenty of time. Today's not the day. But they did exactly what they had to do. They scored 40 runs, and they won 3 games against Missouri. Like, you don't have to draw a picture of it and put it on the score sheet. You just won the game. Like, move on. Like,
I wrote this in 10 thoughts.
You guys are kind of refusing to be happy right now because they're better than last year, and they're 4-2, and they might suck. It might eventually suck, but they don't suck yet. So chill.
Well,
right.
and the two losses are to a team that's 5-1 in the league that looks
just beat the hell out of South Carolina.
Looks pretty legitimate, you know. So I don't know where all the angst is coming from, honestly, other than just conditioned angst after 2 years. But this team's significantly better because this team that team the last couple of years, they could go anemic offensively. I don't think this team's going to go anemic offensively very much. They might have some bullpen issues.
But they can win different ways.
They might have some defensive issues at times, though I think they're better defensively than they were a year ago. And they definitely run the ball out of the ballpark, as you said, better than they did a year ago. And look, Missouri's bad, but they did what you're supposed to do against bad teams. Just go beat them. And now Florida comes in this weekend, and they're 0-6 in the league. And I don't know what that's all about, but
But O'Sullivan's such a calm presence that he's going to settle them down. They're going to get going. It's gonna.
Oof. Yuck.
Yeah, I didn't have A&M and Florida at combined 0-12 on my bingo card in the preseason.
So like you said all along, the goal is get to the tournament. And
13.
Right now, if they seeded the tournament, Ole Miss would be in it. So chill.
Ole Miss has to go 9-15 the rest of the way to reach that goal.
I like their chances.
I mean, Missouri's horrible.
I don't like Missouri's chances to win more than 2 or 3 games.
You think it's that low?
Yeah, they can't pitch at all.
They
can't pitch at all. Like they got like a 5-1 lead yesterday, and there was no part of me that thought, "Oh, Ole Miss is in trouble." I was like, "Oh yeah, they're just going to score a bunch of runs." And then, sure enough, like immediately it was 5-5, and I was like, "Huh." No shot.
Well, it was on Saturday.
I turned it on my computer and like 2 home runs. It was like suddenly it's like 10-5 or something, and you're like, yeah, that's about what I expected.
Yeah, because on Saturday, Mike was like, "Yeah, we won it in the middle innings just because we put up 2 or 3 zeros." Basically, like if you just do anything and stop them for a second, it's over, and you just keep hitting, and it is what it is. Yeah, I mean the team's in trouble right now. A&M is in deep shit. They're in massive trouble at the moment. Missouri, whatever. Florida 0-6. I still think they're better than that. Like I think it's actually a little bit of a scary series for Ole Miss this weekend. They're getting a little healthier. They've had some guys out. I'm not giving up on the Gators yet. State's 1-5. They played well against Oklahoma, but Oklahoma really showed some resolve and came back and back-ended that series. They're against the Bulldogs, and then South Carolina. I'm not sure they're great. Paul Maneri in his first season got some work to do in Columbia.
And Arkansas looks like they have more offense than they normally do.
They are so damn good in the top 5 in that order.
Yeah.
They are really good up top. Iowa's hiring the Drake coach, I see.
Yes, Ben McCullum.
Okay. Texas hiring
that's been a poorly kept secret, the McCullum thing.
Okay. And the league got better. Miller's a much better coach than Rodney Terry. For damn sure.
Yeah.
Just the facts, Neil. It's true. He is a better coach. That's what I said.
It is absolutely true.
Yes, that filet mignon is better than the bologna over there. It's awesome. Okay.
Go figure.
The league doesn't get worse. Ever. Just keeps getting better.
Yeah, it just keeps getting better. It's going to be that next year probably going to be a rolling ball of butcher knives for people. It's going to be hard.
So how was the Milwaukee beer, the Spotted Cow, and the different areas that you were told to partake in?
Spotted Cow was really good. I like the Moon Man better.
Okay.
I didn't get to all the places that were recommended. I did get to Milwaukee Brat House. I didn't have a brat though. A brat. I wasn't. I had to work, and I was like, I don't really want to be like asleep. I'll tell you this. I will. I might check out when the schedule comes out next year, and when the Thunder come up here, I might figure out a way. I enjoyed Milwaukee. I really did. Everybody was super nice. It's very walkable. You feel safe. It was cold, but it wasn't like brutal. I brought a wool coat, and I was glad that I did. But I have nothing but positive things to say about the city. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. The people are just really, really nice, and I'm a fan of Milwaukee. After this, it was cool. It's an old town, like it's old city, and but lots of restaurants and bars, and they like to drink in Milwaukee. That's for sure, and I can get on board with that. So they was great. I really have no complaints, man. Everybody was really, really nice.
So that is a really good spot for a tournament.
Yeah, lots of hotels, lots of restaurants. There's areas where you can walk to. I didn't take an Uber the entire time I was here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I could walk to the arena. Once I kind of figured out the path to walk, I just walked it.
What's your gut on that line? You think it's going to move much? 2.5? Is that about right from a stability standpoint?
I haven't seen Michigan State a whole lot, but yeah, I don't. Again, I don't know how you bet heavily against any SEC team. I just don't because you see Ole Miss and you see 11 losses, right? Where they're 24-11 now.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. And you go, 11 losses, but who'd they lose to? I mean, who's Ole Miss's worst loss? They didn't lose to anybody. I mean,
their worst loss was State at home. On the road. At home, sorry. Yeah, State on the road.
And State was a tournament team.
An 8 seed.
And who was the next worst loss? At Memphis?
Yeah.
And Memphis was a tournament team that won their league. I don't I'm not
Memphis
saying
beat
Ole Miss
Michigan
is
State.
going to. Yeah, I'm not saying that Ole Miss is going to win. I don't know. I'm not there yet, but I'm not betting. I'm not betting against any SEC team right now. I'm just not. They're really battle tested, and I think that matters in these tournaments. Like it's kind of what Padula told me yesterday. He was like, "Yeah, we got kind of punched in the face early." He goes, "But you play in this league, you're going to get punched in the face." I mean, Auburn, as good as Auburn was, Auburn got punched in the face a few times this year. I mean, when you play in this league this year in this league, you got hit a lot. You either learned to be resilient or you folded. I mean, you turned into a bad team. You have no choice to kind of have a short memory, a closer's memory. You had to learn from things. I can't remember. I've had so many conversations with people, but like maybe it was Jamin. I don't remember, but it was just talking about how I want to say it was Jamin. He was just talking about how they learned a lot, even from some of the painful losses. Like he was like, hey, we had to go watch those films and talk about it, and we took things from those games. They learned some things from games that they won. They learned some things from games that they lost, like that A&M game that a lot of Ole Miss fans had a lot of angst about, understandably, over the course of the season. I think that A&M game was like a really good learning lesson for them about you got to finish. You got to go all the way to the tape. I have a feeling that's what some of the timeout was about with a minute and a half left yesterday. Was, hey, we got to finish. Got to go all the way. You don't get to stop a mile short. Got to finish it out, and I think they got conditioned to do that. If you go back and look at last week again, I keep referencing that tournament in Nashville that didn't mean anything, but if you watch that, I mean, again, just remember, they were down 3 to Arkansas with 20 something seconds left, and they finished the game. They were down big enough to Auburn where they could have gone, oh, we're fine. We can lose by 8 to 10. We're going to the tournament. We're good. Instead, they made Janai Broome make a play with 10 seconds left. I mean, that's kind of who they are, and I think that's who a lot of these SEC teams are right now. And I'm just not betting against any of them. I know people bet. I'm not a gambler. I'm not betting real money, but if I were, I'm not betting against SEC teams.
Michigan State's 6 losses this season from an opponent strength standpoint metrics. They lost to Kansas, who was ended up 25. Memphis, who ended up 52, because like I said, their seed and their metrics were not always in line throughout the season, but still right there at top 50. USC, they beat Michigan State. They were 62. UCLA beat Michigan State. That was 22. Indiana beat Michigan State. They were 46, and then they lost to Wisconsin in the second round of the Big Ten tournament, or at least their second game in the Big Ten tournament. That was the semifinals, and they were number 12 currently from a metric standpoint. So those are Michigan State's losses.
Yeah, there's nothing disrespectful in that. I just think
No,
I do think it's a winnable game for Ole Miss. There will be some, maybe there won't be. Maybe people are through with it now. There will be some Cinderella bullshit. This is not
it's
this is not Cinderella. Ole Miss is not wearing. It is not having to change clothes for the ball. They have their own dress and everything.
yeah,
They'll be prepared. They've got nice jewelry and nice. They got their own damn glass
yeah.
slippers. They're good. They don't need Prince Charming to sweep in and save them. They're good. We'll see. Michigan State's good too. I mean, could Ole Miss lose? Of course.
Oh, okay. When you headed out,
I think my flight's at like 1:25, so here in a little bit. I had
you got.
sun chips for dinner last night, so I'm contemplating whether I'm going to do what I never do, which is eat breakfast, and then I wonder if I eat breakfast if I'm going to hate myself for it.
I think you're
Because
gonna need some. You need some food.
I probably need to eat something. I ate lunch at noon yesterday, and then my plan was to eat dinner, and then you know what they say about plans.
Yeah. Fair
I
enough.
had a bag of garden salsa sun chips.
Yeah, not enough. Probably should work on that a little bit. You will be back tomorrow. We'll have another show. We got football tomorrow. Lane Kiffin will speak to the media and something that no one will be overly interested in, given what else is going on currently. It is as irrelevant as Lane Kiffin can be tomorrow. He is having his
I,
most irrelevant day of his career tomorrow.
and he's probably so thankful. I will be so thankful for some of the hardcore football guys on our beat who will be like, Lane, could you break down the backup linebacker play? Because I was just sitting there kind of half asleep, going, yes, Lane, break down the linebacker play.
Yes, Joshua, that's a good point. There are no Cinderellas in the SEC. You came out of that gauntlet and you got like fangs and bite marks. You're like a cat who won some junkyard fight. Like it's not. It's it's
I mean,
it's
if you
not
wanted
cozy.
Cinderella, you needed LSU to win that conference tournament and go on some magical run, and even then, it would be bullshit. But
Yeah,
none of these 7 teams are Cinderella.
yeah. So, all right, we will be back with you again tomorrow. Appreciate everybody. Enjoy your week leading up to Friday. Ole Miss, Michigan State, just after 6 p.m. Central, there from Phillips Arena there in Atlanta. So take care. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon.